Welcome back, everyone. I'm Nick Caniglio.
And I'm Marnie Stockman, and this is the Lead It Like Lasso podcast, a Ted Lasso rewatch podcast. We are the authors of Lead It Like Lasso, a leadership book for life, your life.
And if you know us, we have never believed that Ted Lasso is just about soccer. It's truly a show about leadership, coaching, and culture. And we'll dive into each episode and tell you what we found. And for today's episode, we are finally diving into season 4, episode 1, called Home.
I do not think we are the only ones who have been waiting years for this to happen. So welcome back, everybody. We're excited to be here. It feels a little strange this time around, don't you think?
Oh my gosh, it does. I mean, we never have done this in real time. I mean, we took it from just after seasons 1 through 3, we knew everything that was going to happen.
Yeah, all the arcs, all the payoffs. Yeah.
We're fans again. Awesome.
Right. So not just fans, but we're fans making predictions, right? Based on what we think these genius writers are going to do. We're probably going to get it wrong. We're probably going to overreact sometimes, but we will still do what we've always done. And we're going to take a look at the episode through the lens of leadership, because that is what we do.
Yeah. Before we get started, we should probably thank today's sponsor,
which is us.
Yeah. We looked around for a sponsor and realized we should probably start with believing in ourselves.
So this episode is brought to you by The Business of You, our new book, and by Blue.
If you've ever listened to this podcast and thought, I wish someone can help me discover my strengths, tell my story, or figure out what I want to do with my life,
that's exactly why we built them.
You'll find links in the show notes. So now let's get back to Richmond. Yeah, super excited. So let's start with I'm going to try to summarize what I saw on the show, and you tell me what I missed, okay?
I'll try, but I have 4 pages of notes, so you make it quick and then we can dig in deep. How's that?
I love it. So the show opens, we find out that Ted is working as an assistant manager at a grocery store while he's back home raising Henry. Rebecca, Keely, and Higgins travel to Kansas City to recruit Ted to coach the women's soccer team. Ted ultimately declines because he thinks Henry needs him in Kansas City. Higgins discovers that another women's team has folded, and he's a little nervous about that. I think Keely falls in love with American soccer. Rebecca she refuses to give up on building this Richmond women's team. We see Dottie, Ted's mom, again, and challenges whether Ted is actually happy. And then Henry, I think unexpectedly, the way the show is going, suggests that maybe they should move to Richmond. How is that?
Yeah. I mean, that's great little snippets, but by golly, there's meat between every single one of them.
Always. So what were your initial reactions?
Oh, my hands. So, I mean, literally pages of notes, but it starts with beeping before anything you see on the screen. And we come to find out that Ted's assistant manager, but that beeping sounds like he might be in the hospital and Ted might need to be brought back to life. That's what my first thought was.
Oh, okay. I'm going to say my expectations were just a smidge high. I mean, they were way high. I mean, we've been waiting 3 years for this, right? We've been kind of nervous about it. What's it going to be like? Did I love it? I can't say I loved it, honestly speaking. Did I hate it? Absolutely not, right? I think it's what episode 1 typically is, right? It's a setup episode for everything to come.
Yeah. Well, and I appreciated all of the callbacks. We'll go into so many of those. I appreciated the little nuggets and quotes along the way, but I agree that it is a bit of a setup. Who's going to be in this? What's the storyline? And I remember, when we tell people all the time when we're out talking about Lasso, that if you watch the first 3 episodes, you are then hooked.
Yep.
And I think this is just getting them started. But I think they did a good job of keeping the same feels. It feels like the same folks wrote this show, filmed this show, etc.
Yeah. Yeah, when you hear that music, first of all, I thought it was interesting. There was no intro or opening, the
I
normal
didn't
Ted
even
Lasso
notice
opening.
that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, but the music, I'll steal a line from Ted. It smelled like potential, right? It wasn't the locker room. I think it was the music. I did find it interesting too. A couple of things. Um, I thought they portrayed Kansas City, which we just got back from,
We
ironically
did.
doing the
Yeah.
Ted Lasso
Yeah.
keynote, right?
Yeah.
Which one of my favorite cities in the United States, to be honest with you. I thought they portrayed it in almost a cartoonishly Ted kind of way, right? Everybody was super nice, super quirky accents. It was
The
almost
security guard.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I wonder what their thought process was on that. You know, was that Ted's perspective of Kansas City? Is everybody like Ted? Um, or I don't know. I thought that was interesting, but I think more interesting in this whole lead up to episode 1 of season 4, we've heard, is Jason Sudeikis going to do this? Is he not going to do this? Right? He was really conflicted. I'll only do another season if there's a reason, and I think that mirrored Ted Lasso in this episode 100%. Right? It's almost like we saw what Jason Sudeikis was going through for the past 3 years, and you and I are super fans, right? We're
Yeah.
always watching out for,
Yeah.
what they're saying. Is the new season coming? Is it not? But it feels like Ted Lasso was going through that. The character Ted was going through that same exact process. And should I return to coaching? Should I not? Have I finished my story? I just thought that was an odd mirror to kind of to see
Yeah.
play out.
Yeah. This is going to be fun.
Yeah. What about Easter eggs, callbacks? You spot any?
Oh, so many. And I don't know if I'll get my brain straight about what's a callback versus an Easter egg versus a leadership lesson. So if you're good, I'll aim to go chronologically and keep track so I don't double talk. But let us start with Ted fake stealing stuff because of Tyler, the guy that steals the pack of cigarettes.
Yeah.
Ted pulls a lead tasso. Lead tasso is not just a psychotic version of the opposite of Ted. It is reverse psychology. And he plays that out. So I'll be curious if people disagree that that's a lead tasso, but that's what I thought.
Brilliant.
And come on, I don't want to go back to prison. That is what every dad says they're going to say to every teenage boy anyway. Got Tyler's attention.
Yeah. And there was a parenting theme, which I think we'll talk about. I know I'll bring it up. I'm going to go for, and I am super pleased with this because I think this is right. So our audience will correct me if not. But I was never good at picking up the callbacks to previous episodes the first time through. But did you notice? And what got me was the manager of the store. First of all, it was Fauci's Fine Foods, I believe, but his name was Ronnie, and he was eating Butterfinger. And
no way!
Season 1, episode 3. There was the Butterfinger speech where Ted was giving it to Roy when he was talking about growing up in the rough and tumble playgrounds, and Ronnie Fauch offered him a candy bar, and you immediately say no, right? Because there's a good chance that son of a gun has popped, something inside of a Butterfinger. So well Fauch's Fine Groceries, his name was Ronnie. I actually went back and looked. It was Ronnie Fauch that he referred to in season 1, episode 3. So I got that one. I was pretty proud of that one.
Yeah, that is fantastic. Oh my goodness. I did not catch that one. Well, so let's talk Wizard of Oz. I mean, when the 3 get out of the car, Rebecca's in spiky heels, very lion-esque of her. Healy popping out with her little ponytails, and red, sparkly shoes. And this is Dorothy has landed back in Kansas, right? Yeah. And then Higgins is wearing sneakers, and they are New Balance. And he brings balance to this trio.
Oh, you are on top of your game today, man. That's well done.
I have already watched it twice.
Yeah. I'm gonna go simple again. Shout out to our friend Billy Brimblecom. Right, I love when you're driving through downtown Kansas City.
I saw the Thunder Gongs. Yes,
the Thunder Gong advertisement. I thought that was pretty cool.
And tickets are on sale today for Thunder Gong. So
great event.
Yeah.
I know you asked me about Casablanca when Ted and
all the way to the end of the show. Yeah.
Well, it's almost the end. I mean, did you come up with anything with Casablanca?
Yeah. So I had to do some research because I knew when Rebecca said, I've never watched it and I'm never going to. Oh, they mean something by that. Tell me about Casablanca. I've never seen it either. So I had to do some Google searching. And one of the lines from Casablanca is, of all the gin joints in the world, right? And Ted starts with, of all the ladies soccer teams in the world, you land in this one. So that's the first reference to it. Did you do more hunting around Casablanca?
I did. And like you, I was not really up to speed with my Casablanca
references.
References, yeah. But I learned to find out that one of the themes was it's about sacrificing what you want for what's right. So Ted really wants to be coaching soccer again, but he believes what's right is staying home with Henry. And Rebecca saying, never saw it, never want to, never will. Yeah. And she's basically telling Ted, follow what you want to do, not what's right.
So what's interesting is when I dug into a little more of Casablanca, it is the main character, Rick, is dragged out of isolated neutrality. And isn't that what Ted is? Isn't he stuck in this just very bland version of Ted? And what's interesting is in the movie, ghosts from the past are what bring him out of it. And who shows up but Rebecca, Keeley, and Higgins. So, I mean, I think that's very clear. From a leadership perspective, you and I talk about people, students, people in jobs who are stuck, right? They're doing the things that they think are the right things or the path that has been put in front of them, but they haven't really taken time to figure out what they really want and who they really are. And if they could do that work, it could move them on. It reminded me of our good friend Bob Berg's quote about defining happiness. So happiness is bringing your best version to the world and giving value to the world as the best version of yourself. Basically, I'm definitely kind of butchering that. But it is not about just sitting around in this neutral version of doing things that maybe are fun, right? It is figuring out what you're bringing to the world and bring it. And Ted needs to bring it.
He certainly does. I think this is a definition of a callback, but right, they, when they're talking about Henry with the principal, and we've got the Public Enemy reference, which again, maybe I'm not 100% up to speed on, right? But they say change of scenery could be good, and that gets called back certainly later in the show, which I think it just ties everything together just beautifully, as they usually do.
I love the iPad reference at the beginning, right? Sort of the same bit. So the only thing at 0% should be your doubt that it will be done. Ted's best version of himself would have charged that iPad, right? And he knew it when the iPad wasn't charged. And Henry, the best version of you is not getting the job done, Ted, because that's why Henry's on his mom's phone at the end, for sure. I thought at the beginning, hero's journey has crossed the threshold is what Ted says to Rebecca. And I thought, oh, interesting. She's on a hero's journey for this Richmond, for the women's team. Yeah. I don't know why that one just popped up. I mean, tea.
You got 4 pages of notes.
Because I do have 4 pages of notes. All of the tea, right? I always drink tea, but I figured I'd extra drink it on today's episode. So Ted in the principal's office, and he's like, I'd rather say, okay, never mind. I don't need to say that. And then actually tries it. The let it steep. Well played, Rebecca, with the biscuits with the boss box. Brilliant. Love these writers as always.
Mug, by the way, too. Another reference back to.
Oh, right. It was.
The Wiz, I think. Yeah.
Nice. So yeah, I thought the tea references were very fun. And of course, the retranslating line where Ted says, "No, we're in America. This is soccer," and goes through all those pieces.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to flip it because this isn't really a call back. It maybe is a little bit. It's also a call forward. I think we've heard so much about what the season's going to be. So this episode wasn't exactly a surprise to me because we kind of knew it was going to be about the
otherwise there would be no show. Yeah. He said no.
But when he's sitting up right before he texts Henry, which he thought was Michelle, right? There's a lot of nostalgia there. So they are giving us some answers, and they did throughout the show too, right? We know that Rebecca is dating Matthias. We know that Roy and Keely aren't necessarily together.
Womp womp. We're all still hoping for that one.
Yeah, but then we get a little bit of an insight into, all right, who is coming back, right? We see the photograph of Roy holding a trophy of some sort, meaning that he's still coaching.
He's doing all right.
Team.
Yeah.
Beard at his wedding. We get a picture of May. The Nate. Is Nate going to be back? I don't know, but there's a little reference to that. We know that Barbara and Keely. Barbara will be back, right? Because Keely referenced her in the show. Sad for me, the press clipping that Trent is writing about Jamie Tartt leaving AFC Richmond. So I, as we suspected and as we've heard, I don't think Jamie's going to be a big part of the show at all. But the show was kind of reminding us, remember where kind of everything ended at the same time, giving us a little glimpse into who might be part of the series moving forward.
Another piece that is a callback, wasn't a callback at the same time. When Ted comes in his house, the way they filmed that, every time Ted would get stressed in season 1, in the first 3 seasons, what would they show? They'd go down to his fingers that would get a little fidgety. And it was the same filming, you can tell he's stressed, and they didn't pan down to his fingers. They would pan to, he would take a breath, kind of pause for a second, and keep going. So Ted has been doing the work on himself, I believe, a bit, and has figured out how to process. He's, running laps in his noggin. I thought that was a good, I like that line. And Michelle did say Oklahoma when asking Ted if he wanted to, go coach in London.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we know books are always important, right? And Ted gets the box from his family's house, and it's got Johnny Tremaine in it. Do you know anything about Johnny Tremaine?
I do not. And I was looking at that book. I paused it. I stopped it, and I could not read what the book title was.
So this is crazy. To my knowledge, I've never read Johnny Tremaine, but I looked at it. I was like, I think that's Johnny Tremaine. Why do I think that? Where has that been around where I thought that? But then I replayed it, and I was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's Johnny Tremaine. And so Johnny Tremaine was arrogant and highly skilled, and then had to go through a lesson of humility, maturity, strength, and values. He actually got injured and had to change what he did. So my question is, Henry Johnny Tremaine? Right? Now, I wouldn't say he's pro at being arrogant, but he just seems to be, Dottie has him the most skilled player on the team is someone else, Johnny Tremaine. But there's a reason that book was pulled out of that box, and it wasn't because it was just laying around the set.
Yeah, I think great pickup, and thanks for getting the content of the book right. I struggle with that, so we know. I am sure we'll be talking about that again. I know we will. Okay. Anything else in terms of callbacks?
Of callbacks? Boy, I mean, I have lots of other things written down, but I don't think they are specifically callbacks. So I'll say no. What else you got?
Well, let me start with, this is kind of a mix of observation and other things, but was it obvious to you that Rebecca is now Ted, right? I mean, go way back to season 1 where Rebecca manipulated people, right? Now she is in season 4, fast forward, and she went through this great arc, right? But she is carrying belief forward, right? She is, she when she was talking to Higgins, right? It'll be different somehow. We need to believe. And then she wants to talk to Keeley, not have Higgins talk to Keeley because, she doesn't want to kill Keeley's enthusiasm. She's the one bringing the biscuits with the boss, right? The pink box, except it's a tea bag and not necessarily the cookies. I think she has become Ted. She is now the Ted, which is interesting, right? We know that she has made great progress in her persona, her character. But I was a little bit surprised that it was so obvious that she was doing all the things that Ted was, is known for and was doing.
That is so good. I didn't pin her as Ted, but in our book, we have a leadership assessment, right? And I track as Ted and Rebecca. So I was definitely thinking about their two, like the things that we talk about in our presentations and all. And when we were at Garmin last week, we talked about shadow behaviors and what happens when you're under stress and how your strengths turn into your weaknesses, right? And one of the things that we said about Rebecca is that when you're stressed and when you're a high achiever, you often try to protect yourself. And what happens? When you do, you become controlling. Like when she screamed at Ted in season 3, just beat them, Ted. And she didn't this time. She's going to give him the time and space that he needs to come up with the right answer, which is, of course, coming to Richmond. So I didn't realize, you're right. She absolutely has grabbed a lot of Ted's traits, but I was more thinking how she wasn't stressed. She's operating as her best self, and that's showing up.
Yep. No doubt.
Yeah, that was a good one. So let's talk about Keeley for a minute, because, in our previous episodes of this podcast, we talk about what a strong leader Keeley is, right? Mm-hmm. And it's sneaky. So in this one, it is interesting because Keeley's big ideas. So she wants the stadium, hey, we can have a team train, a massage parlor, etc. And she is new stadium. She is all about dazzle me moi. And how many times have we worked with a leader that is all about the bright, shiny object and has to be reeled back in? So if I am guessing happen in terms of what Keeley's going to have to learn is she's going to have to get some focus and she's going to have to stop. When Ted asked her at the table to say something that you're doing that's not work, she couldn't. She's gotten so workaholic-y.
Yep.
She's going to have to work on this.
Oh, I think that's a great call out for sure. And we talked about Keeley so many times in the first 3 seasons, and how effective she was as a leader. So maybe they'll introduce some friction with her character as we kind of go through
I was wondering
the
if that's where
seasons.
we're going to go. She's going to have some peaks and valleys on this.
Yeah, yeah. All right, I'll take a different lens. We often talk about in our keynotes or in the book itself that one of the most important leadership positions you have is as a parent,
Yeah.
right? And I thought there were a lot of parenting themes in the show, obviously, right? With Ted and Henry. I'm just going to name a couple. I mean, the first was just a great reminder when he's talking to Henry about just don't record you know your words in writing, right? He talks about receipts and things like that. But what I really liked was the interaction. It was a bit awkward. Ted's not coaching Henry anymore. There's somebody else coaching, right? But he had a little bit of an interaction with the coach of Henry's soccer team, and then at some point Ted says, coaches and dads have conflicting jobs, and I think that's true clearly, but it's true in a lot of leadership type positions that we talk about, right? Every leader has a different identity, right? They have multiple identities, right? Whether they're a boss, a parent, friend, a spouse, it doesn't matter. And sometimes those roles they compete with each other, and it's important to know which hat matters most. And I think Ted was showing, right, in this case that, okay, I'm pushing, but I know when to step back, right? I mean, and I thought that was one of the great lessons. But I thought the better line um, was when Ted was with his mom, Dottie, and he was going through the things. He saw that his dad won Salesman of the Year. Clearly, Dottie learned a couple of lessons from that at her yard sale.
Yes.
she was,
She doesn't
she
seem to
was
have a problem lying.
no, no. But Ted was remembering going into work with his dad and how much he loved it. And basically, his mom reminded him, "All right, you didn't love it because of the way it made you feel. You loved it because of the way it made your dad feel. You loved seeing your father love his job, and you know that really changes everything, right? So we talk so much about pursuing career success, right? It's not about that, right? It's about seeing others and modeling purpose for both yourself, but really for your children to see as well. And I think that was an important message in this show, along with the obvious message, which is you need to love what you do.
Yeah, she said, if you don't care about it, why should I? And he was like, ooh, okay.
Yeah,
I feel that, Dottie.
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
um, I also thought that in the world of quotes, Rebecca's boyfriend had a great quote. You can always give up tomorrow. I feel like you know, that's a good one. I don't know if it's not be curious, not judgmental, but
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think there were other good quotes in the show as well, right? I don't have my notes in front of me. I do, but I can't find it. The Satchel Paige quote, right?
ain't no
Uh,
man can avoid being born average, but ain't no man that gotta be common.
yep, yep. And he says, "Look around. None of these men were common. They were immortal." I think is what he said,
Yep.
and that you know Higgins didn't say it. He was there, right? And it kind of reignited Higgins, because he was struggling with it.
Yeah.
He's being,
He's the
you know,
financial person that's in charge of keeping it together, right?
yeah, his operations, and he's seeing other teams around, other women's team failing and draining resources for the men's team, and he's concerned about that. But he is now 100% reignited. He had his Kansas City Monarchs jersey on at the KC Current game, and he's all about it. You know, you know, um, in from the standpoint of not being common, and these women are not being common. Shoot, it's only been since 1971 that
It's
ladies have
allowed to
been
play.
playing soccer in the UK, which is kind of crazy.
Kind of breaks my brain a little bit. Yeah, so back to a Casablanca piece on that and the self-sacrifice, right?
Mm.
Rebecca, clearly the one thing is she's a little bit worried about the women's club, shutting down. And, Keely's talking about build your own stadium. Then Rebecca says maybe we should play a match first. And I wonder if Rebecca's going to have to take some risk to make this happen. As a side note, because you know me, I'm going to recommend a book one way or the other. We should play the match first. If you are a business builder, there's a book called 0 to 1 where you have to build something and sell the first version. That is the big first hurdle. And I feel like Rebecca's going to get over that big first hurdle, or it's going to be a very short season 4.
Yeah. And it didn't go unnoticed to me that she never really had the conversation with Keely about the other soccer team going under. So we'll see. I forgot something that you've just reminded me. When they were in the diner at the beginning, and Rebecca told Ted that they want him to lead the ladies soccer team, and Ted makes the joke of, are you trying to sabotage me? And Rebecca says something to the effect, no, we want you created the culture for the men.
Yeah.
Right. And that's another point of evidence, right? That she finally understands and truly understands Ted's greatest gift. And
and the other piece of that is, how often have we done trainings where we talk about what a lot of leaders get wrong is they start with vision and mission, and you really have to start with culture.
Yep. We talk about that a lot. Anything else before we move to predictions?
All right, we've talked about Battle Bus a few times on there. I had to look that up. That's a Fortnite thing. So
he plays a lot of Fortnite with Henry.
A lot of Fortnite with Henry. I'm not sure where that's going to go. So I just appreciate the okay, Glamazon with the pajamas on. That's a very Lasso saying that I think that's funny. Okay. Henry's room started a mess, was clean by the end. What foreshadowing? What is going on there? Any thoughts?
I have no idea. I have literally it written down. Henry's room was a mess. It's clean. And I don't have anything after that. So
all right. Well, I hope somebody comments to us, so we know what that is. A couple other things. Keely has learned to love the game. Remember that she liked Roy, and so she was cheering. She knew how to cheer, but she's into it now. So she has learned that. I loved so you mentioned the beginning scene. I'm going to jump back to that for a second. When I first saw that come out as one of the first released things about season 4, I thought the photography of it was hazy, right? There's filtered light. There's it's not sharp and bold the way all of seasons 1 through 3 are. And I think that's because Ted's a little hazy about whether or not he should be there. So Kansas City's a little hazy. And Rebecca throws out at the end, sometimes home is just a state of mind.
Yep.
As opposed to the 2 states that they're in, Kansas or Missouri.
And just getting back from there, I get the confusion with those two.
Yes. Yeah.
I loved Keely's line when they're saying goodbye, right? It's great to see how the sausage is made, and Ted and she's like, Ted, you're the sausage.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Kansas City, this is Yeah, and maybe going back to what I was saying earlier about comically how they have cartoonized,
Portrayed it. Yeah.
made each character like cartoonish. I mean, that's how Ted is, and so we saw Kansas City through the lens of Keely and Rebecca seeing it, and hey, it's just like Ted.
Um, so also, Ted was behaving like a petulant teenager around his mother.
Mm-hmm.
And if we go back to when you are under stress, you're not the best version of yourself and you revert to your primal instincts. The whole like pouting, I have to go upstairs and carry this heavy stuff. This is Ted not being his best version. And so, our prediction is London helps to fix that.
Always.
Yeah.
Always. So where do you think this is going to go? I don't care if you take it next episode or
all the way to the end.
At the end of whatever arc that we're on right now.
Yeah. So Rebecca clearly doesn't want Alice Chilton to be a coach. I assume that is Tracy Ullman.
Tracy Ullman.
Yeah.
I agree.
So, I mean, sadly, Rupert won't be in this because the actor that played Rupert passed away. So does Alice Chilton become the bad guy in this? I don't think so. I think she becomes one of the coaches, but
that would be my guess as well.
Yeah. So that will be interesting how that plays out. Is London where Henry gets his act together? I'm curious how much more teenage angst we're going to see from Henry. Is that going to build into Henry being a bully, or is this a chance for him to, I haven't really figured out what that play is yet. I'm excited to meet the women's team. I'll stop there and let you say.
Yeah. I was thinking about this with Henry specifically, and we know they changed actors, right? And one of the things was that the new actor apparently has more soccer skills, or football skills, whatever you call it. So I just kind of put everything together. It should have made sense earlier, but I think one of the storylines is going to probably be Henry being part of the soccer academy. So I think in addition to the women's team, I think we're probably going to see maybe the U16, I don't know, 14, 15, however old Henry is, and potentially Roy helping Henry kind of evolve as a character. I don't know. That's just
that would be very Johnny Tremaine of them.
I mean, yes. Yes. And as I was watching this, and I originally, because I knew nothing about Casablanca, right? But when I thought about it, I knew there was some sort of love story that was going on there. There's something still in the back of my mind that Ted and Rebecca are going to get together. I know she's with Matthias now. I know Michelle's going to London. But that's for another podcast. I happen to know there's one that's all about that. But I just, for whatever reason, I got that feel. But I got that feel the first season around. So
interesting. Well, then how about this as sort of a close to wrap? We should remain curious, not judgmental. And Ted did have a dartboard in his bedroom from growing up, and that is a callback or a Easter egg or something that we have not brought up.
Yes, 100%. I had that written down too. Darn it. All right. Any other predictions before we sign off?
I don't have any other predictions other than I know what I'm excited for next week to see. There was a lot of expectation around this, and I think fans will they're still in. Yep. We're up for another week.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I guess that's it. As Roy would say, whistle, whistle. Game's over, but the leadership lessons keep on playing.
Oh, of course. And, like Roy Kent, we're here, there, and every effing where. So if you want to follow along, subscribe here for updates. You can find us on social media at Lead It Like Lasso or leaditlikelasso.com if you want to check out our newsletter. We would love to hear your take and what you'd like to hear about on the podcast.
Absolutely. So until next time, stay curious, stay kind, and always keep leading it like Lasso.